Hello everyone, welcome back to the Bookcase of Doom. I'm Jane and here's a huge book haul for you. So I'm gonna show you dozens of books that I acquired over the summer and autumn of 2023. Most of these were gifts for my birthday because it was in August. Some of these I got myself secondhand, a couple of these were new, and there's literally gonna be very many books, so I'm gonna show you them. First I want to show you this thing. Look, it's seed beads. This is called a silenka, from an old Ukrainian word silyati, which means to thread on. My friend Tatiana started making these. I'm going to link her Instagram down below in case you want to order one for yourself, because they're beautiful and maybe you will want to support a Ukrainian artist. And now let's start our book haul. Okay, so I don't think I'm gonna do it in any particular order because there's piles of books all around me. So the first ones I'll show you is Monsters, Volume 1 and 2 by Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda. I already read the Volume 1 for Gothtober and I loved it, gave it 4 stars, and I'm currently reading Volume 2 right now. I don't know why I gave it 4 stars, by the way, because I think this deserves 5. The art is absolutely gorgeous. Excuse my voice, by the way, I'm sick. I probably shouldn't be filming and talking. I should preserve my voice, but that's okay. The art is beautiful. It's a little bit reminiscent of Giger for me, and it's gorgeous. It's about a world where there are humans and there are these other creatures who have magical abilities, and they all look different. They look like, some of them are anthropomorphic animals, some of them just have horns or wings or something like that, and these two fractions are at work constantly. And this is Micah Half-Wolf, who is the main character, and there's a monster inside her. It's beautiful and tragic and a little bit scary and gory as well. Next, one of my friends from university came to visit about a month ago. We went to an art gallery together and I finally bought myself Walk Through Walls, a memoir by Marina Abramovic. Well, it's actually Abramovich. Well, I don't know why I always say Abramovic. I wonder how she herself says her surname. I should look it up. I should look up some interviews with her on YouTube or something. Marina Abramovic is a performance artist who I respect and love deeply, and I've always wanted to read her memoir, because for me as an artist and as a writer, it's very important to look at how other artists create. And a lot of the things in here I already read, only 30 pages, but I've already found some very interesting insights for myself in this book. Next, I got The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi, and this book was very expensive. It was new, but I splurged on it because there was a new bookshop opening in my city and my boyfriend and I went there to investigate, and I just had to buy it. Look at these beautiful end pages, this beautiful cover, and I think I'm going to read it in November or in December because I want some fantasy in my life. Then I have Our Crooked Hearts by Melissa Albert. I already read this. I think I gave it 3 stars. It was lovely. It was about witches and motherhood and sisterhood. I don't want to say anything else about this, not to spoil anything, also not to stretch out this video too long. I liked it. It was fun. It wasn't as good for me as the Hazelwood, but I'm still glad I read it. Then I have 6 books here that my followers on TikTok helped me pick out on a live stream. And I was sure that I already talked about them on my channel, but I think I only talked about them on TikTok. I already read one of them, and there's going to be a separate vlog where I talk about these books. I already finished Vespertine by Margaret Rogerson. Yeah, Margaret Rogerson. This was 4 stars. This was beautiful. Vespertine, this is about this woman. She is a nun at a convent who take care of the dead, and then the dead start to rise. The nuns in this world have a special relationship with spirits, and it was very interesting. There's no romance in this, which I appreciated, and the main character is 100% neurodivergent. So if that sounds interesting, maybe you'll love it as well. I enjoyed it for one. Then in that same pile, I have Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin, and I read 76 pages of it. And if you watched one of my wrap-ups from summer, you might have heard that I hate this. It's so boring, and it almost made me cry because video games are my second favorite thing to books in the world. I've been playing video games since I was 7 years old. I love video games, and I thought, oh my god, a book about making a video game and friendship, give it to me now. And it's boring, unbearably boring. I don't know, maybe I'll finish it someday, but that day is not today. Then the next book in that same pile is Iron Widow by J. Zhao, and I love J. Zhao. Their TikTok is iconic. Just everything they say, the way they dress, the way they talk, and the things they're interested in are amazing. But this book I wasn't particularly into. Again, I didn't finish it. I'm on page 100 right now, and I don't know if I'm ever going to finish it. I probably will because I want to, but I didn't vibe with it. I love the fact that the main character is also the villain of the story, and I really like the lore of the world, but the motivations of the character for me were valid, but how she came towards those motivations in a world that completely destroys anything other than the status quo was, I just didn't vibe with it. I don't know. I don't even want to talk about it. I mean, everybody knows what this book is about. Then we have A Magic Steeped in Poison by, I don't even remember, Judy I. Lin. I don't remember what this is about. My subscribers on TikTok told me to get it, and I got it. I think it's fantasy. Oh, and Jun Zhao actually blurbed it. Also, the cover is gorgeous. I don't know. I think it's fantasy. I think it's about sisters, maybe? I'll read it soon. The Forest of Stolen Girls by Jun He is the next one. This is a mystery thriller. I think there's a little bit of a speculative twist there. Girls have been disappearing in this forest, and then we are following this police officer, I think, whose daughter disappears, or whose daughter comes back from the forest. I don't remember. My superpower in play once again, where I read the synopsis of a book and then I promptly forget about it, but I remember that I want to read it. So this is going to be in a separate vlog as well. And the last one from my TikTok vlog is going to be The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. It's a huge book, but the font's pretty big, and I really am very happy that I have this. This is about lesbian nuns wreaking havoc. Love it, love that. For me, sounds glorious. Right, next we have a little pile here, The Woman in Black by Susan Hill. This is a classic gothic story about a young attorney going to the funeral of this client of his firm and encountering a mysterious woman in black. This is a very short book, only 160 pages. I read this for Garthrobo just now, and I gave it 3 stars, but I'm very happy that I read it because it's a classic gothic story that I wanted to have read. Then we have The Thursday Murder Club, also for Gothtober. I loved this so much. Richard Osman is such a funny guy, and I really want the 2nd and 3rd book in the series right now. So when I can buy them, I will immediately do this. This is about these people in a retirement community solving murders, and all the characters in it were so fun. I want to be their best friend. Next one, A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. This is a story about grief, about a young boy inadvertently summoning a monster when his mother is sick with cancer and trying to go through that. It was very sad and very beautiful and very life-affirming all at the same time. Loved it. 5 stars. Amazing. And the next one is The Death of Vivek Oji by Akwaeke Emezi. I just finished this on October 31st. I literally read this in one sitting. I didn't eat, didn't pee. I just sat there and read it. And I cried. It was so good. It was 5 stars. One of my new favorite books. This is about Vivek. This is about a Nigerian character called Vivek Oji, whose death is foretold in the beginning of the story. We know that he's going to die, and then we slowly find out why through his friends and family. There's queer rep in this, there is non-binary and trans rep in this. It was very beautiful. It was incredibly beautifully written. It was so sad. It was so insightful. It was, dear God, it was just incredible. I'm very sad, and I love this book. I love this book so much. Then I have a really big pile of books here that my friend Kate brought me from Norway. She goes to Loppe markets there and finds books in English, sends me pictures of the shelves, and I choose the books that I want. And she brought them here for me for my birthday when she came to Kiev to visit. The first one is The Slow Regard of Silent Things by Patrick Rothfuss. This is a novella that I think comes after The Name of the Wind and before Wise Man's Fear, so I haven't read it obviously because I haven't read The Name of the Wind yet, but I'm very excited to read it. It's also illustrated and it's very cute. And I don't know why I wanted it, even though I haven't read even the first book, but I just like Patrick Rothfuss so much as a person that it was very important for me to own it. Then I have this horrible little pocket and movie cover edition of Dune, but she brought it for me anyway as a gift because I didn't have Dune, a physical copy of Dune. So now I have one for my collection because I have read Dune, I just didn't have a copy. I love Dune. Why the movie cover though? Like, I understand why, but why? I need to repaint this. Basically Dune. I've read Dune. Do you like Dune? Dune is great. Then we have The Life of Pi by Ian Martell. I think this is about a man and a tiger on a lifeboat after a storm at sea trying to survive. That's all I know about this book. And the other thing I know about it is that everybody has read it and it was all the rage when it just first came out. I remember everybody read it and there was a movie, and it's probably great. I feel like I've talked about these books already on my channel, but I looked through my last book hauls and I guess I didn't. Maybe I just did it in my head and then I don't know. If I already talked about these books, I'm so sorry. Next, we have The Angel's Game by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. This is, I think, number 2 in the Cemetery of Lost Books series. I only now am missing 1 from this series. I have the other 2, the first one and the last one, so I'm missing number 3. I'm very excited to read this. I don't know why I'm collecting book series before I even read the first one. I'm just so sure that I'm going to love this because I read one other book by Carlos Ruiz Zafón and I loved it. So I'm just sure that I'm going to love it, and I now have it. Then we have The Wonder by Emma Donoghue. This is about a young nurse who goes to this remote town in Ireland to investigate the rumors of this girl who doesn't eat, doesn't sleep, and she doesn't need any of that. She just is healthy and thriving. I bought this book for my mom for Christmas a few years ago, and I wanted to read it ever since myself, and now I have the ability to do that. It's also a tall paperback, which is a format that I really do love. It's very pleasing to the touch. Then we have Zorro by Isabel Allende. This is a spin on the classic novel of Zorro that was written in the 1700s? I don't even remember. I looked it up, but I don't remember. I love Isabel Allende, so I'm very excited to read this. I remember watching the movie Zorro when I was a little girl, the really old one. So this is going to be a very fun read for me. Then we have Educated by Tara Westover. Everybody has read this. I never was particularly interested in this because I heard that it's not so much about her journey of educating herself as it is about how she used to live with her family. But that is also interesting to me, like how she used to live with these radical people who completely secluded her from all the rest of the world. So I kind of do want to read this, and I will do that soon, I think. I don't know when though. Then we have Unsheltered by Barbara Kingsolver. This is about a woman whose life is crumbling around her. They live in this old dilapidated house with their family, and then she discovers that in the 1800s a pioneering woman scientist also lived in the street, and she decides that it's gonna somehow help her save her house and her family. I've never read anything by Barbara Kingsolver, but I have been interested in a lot of her books, so I think this will be my first one. I kind of like this cover because I love this design of doors opening, opening, opening. I don't remember what this particular design choice is called. Is it called the Non-Filada? I think so. Even though this cover kind of looks very generic, and I don't think I would have picked it up on the cover alone if I didn't already know about Barbara Kingsolver. But I am interested in reading this book. Okay, the next little pile from Kate. God, there's so many books, they're falling all around me. We've got Mo Flanders by Danielle Defoe. This is a pretty old Signet Classics copy. It's very floppy and very, very old. I love the cover with the little cat here. This is Memoirs of a Prostitute, and I'm very interested in reading this as well. Like, I feel like I said that about every single book in this video. My voice sounds ridiculous. I just realized. Danielle Defoe, as we all know, wrote Robinson Crusoe, and he was a prominent journalist and an activist, a very interesting man in general. So I'm gonna read this soon and tell you what I think about it. Then we've got Howard's End by Ian Forster. This is the Penguin English Library edition. It's very floppy, it's been used and used, but I really do love these editions. I wouldn't say that I collect them, I only collect the ones that I actively want to read, but I do have a few and they make me really happy. So I'm going to read that one when I feel like a classic soon. Then we have the Orange Penguin books, A Passage to India by Ian Forster. This is very old as well. These orange editions, they don't have a printing date inside them. I looked it up and I couldn't find a specific date for when this could have been published, but the only information I could find is that these orange little penguin books, they also came in green, purple, and I think one other color that I can't remember, and the color denotes a genre. So yeah, this is another Ian Forster, and I like how old and tattered it is. It just makes me feel like this book had some adventures. Maybe it did. Then we have Funny Girl by Nick Hornby. I don't even know what it is about. I just know that this is Nick Hornby, and when I see Nick Hornby, I just say, take my money. I love Nick Hornby. He writes just contemporary fiction. It's also very British what he writes, but just the way he writes about people and feelings is so life-affirming. And even though when sad things happen, you just think, yeah, that's the way the cookie crumbles, and it just makes me feel good. So I'm glad that I have it. I don't like the cover, but I do like that I have this book because I love Nick Hornby. I feel like this is going to be a boring video. I don't know why. Then we have The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. Honestly, I have no idea what it is about. No other books by Kristen Hanna. Alaska 1974. Excellent. This is happening in Alaska. Love Alaska. I have never read anything by Kristen Hanna because all the books by her that I've ever seen, the descriptions, the synopses put me to sleep. So I don't want to read a historical fiction about World War II, just not another one. So this is not about that. So I think maybe this is going to help me acquaint myself with Kristen Hanna. Maybe I'm gonna love her. Maybe she's gonna become a new favorite writer. The next one is The Little Friend by Donna Tartt. I loved the other two books that I read by Donna Tartt, that everybody else read, The Goldfinch and The Secret History. This is her least popular book, The Little Friend. I think there was a death in the family many years ago. A child died and everybody in the family pretends it didn't happen, but then a child of the next generation discovers this story and weird things start to happen. Maybe some ghosty things, something like that. Oh my god, this font is so tiny. It's so tiny. Why is it so small? Oh my god, how am I supposed to read that? I need a magnifying glass for these books. And the last one in this pile is Kaikeyi by Vaishnavi Patel. This is the retelling of the Ramayana. Kaikeyi was the stepmother of the main character in the Ramayana, and this is just a retelling of her story. Because in the Ramayana, she's just shown as the evil stepmother who kicks him out of the house, and that's it. But this is just her story, and I heard that it's beautiful and gorgeous. As a true idiot, I wanted to read Ramayana before I started this book, but the Ramayana is like the Bible. It's thousands of pages long, and you need to spend a lot of time reading it in order to truly understand what you're reading. Also, there's millions of versions, and I couldn't choose which one I wanted to read. But then I heard from other people that read this book that there is context given in this so that you will understand what's going on. Also, my boyfriend, who's a historian, told me a little bit about the Ramayana, so I understand what I'm going into, so I can safely read this soon. I think actually I was gonna buddy read this with someone on TikTok. If I was gonna buddy read this with you, please comment, because I wrote it down somewhere, but I don't remember where. Then we have some books here that my mom got me for my birthday. First one is Just Like You by Nick Hornby. This is his latest book that came out a couple of years ago, and I wanted it so badly. This is just a love story about two very different people finding each other. That's all I know about it. She's a teacher and a mother of two who doesn't really want to be in a relationship, and he's an aspiring musician who's never really been in a relationship. And I'm not one for love stories most of the days, but this is Nick Hornby, so I think this is gonna be great. The next one is kind of exciting for me. This is the Italian Folk Tales by Italo Calvino. This was my favorite book as a child growing up. We had a copy of this book in Russian in my grandfather's library for some reason, and I used to make my mom read these stories to me every night, and she hated it because they were so boring for her, and I loved them so much. I could read very early myself, but I just liked my mom reading to me, so I kept making her read them to me. And then at one point I was just like, fine, I'm just gonna read them myself. And I remember that up to the age of like 15, I kept rereading and rereading that book because it was just such a comfort read for me. These are literally just Italian folk tales collected and edited by Italo Calvino. They're very strange, they're very, you know, fairy tale-y, and I've never had a copy in English. This has horrible tiny little font, but I'm very glad that I just have this copy now so that I can read them in English when I feel like it and share them with people. Maybe I'll read a couple on video because they're just so great. This is a great book for me. Next we have Violetta by Isabel Allende. I have no idea what this book is about. And again, I feel like I've said that 20 times already, but I know that this is Isabel Allende, and I love Isabel Allende. This is just about the life of this woman, Violetta, who had a very tumultuous existence. But as always, Isabel Allende is gonna put a beautiful spin on it, so I'm excited to read that. Next we have Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. This is inspired by Shakespeare's son, whose name really was Hamnet, I think, right? Yeah? I'm not crazy, right? And that's all I know about it, and I'm really excited to read this because I love Shakespeare, and I love books based on Shakespeare and his life and his place, and it's gonna be great. Next we have Certain Dark Things by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I read a few Silvia Moreno Garcia books and I didn't really love them, but I still want to read this because this is about futuristic vampires, and I also love the cover. I wanted to choose this for my vampire book club that I never actually started, but maybe we will do that. I mean, do you want to be in a vampire book club? Then I have The Diary of a Bookseller by Sean Bythell, which I wanted for such a long time, like literally 10 years maybe. I've been dreaming about this book. This is just a diary of a guy in Scotland who has a bookshop, and this is just about life in the bookshop and interesting things that happen there, and it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. Next, another Isabella Allende, Long Petal on the Sea. This is her latest novel about immigrants, and I know it's gonna be heartbreaking. I don't particularly like this format, but the font is not tiny, which I appreciate. And the last one from my mom's birthday pile, we have Elizabeth Finch by Julian Barnes. I really love this cover with the perforated dust jacket. Oh, and look, there's a picture here. I didn't even notice before. I only read one other book by Julian Barnes for a weird reason, and I know a lot about him also for a weird reason, which you will find out about in a video one day, I think, if I ever finish filming this. I think that Elizabeth Finch is a retired teacher, and this is her recounting her life or something like that. She's definitely a retired teacher. Other than that, don't remember anything, don't want to know anything, just want to go into this and enjoy the beautiful prose. Next, we have a little pile of used books that I got for myself. We're almost done, I promise. There's not a lot of books left. We have The Way of Kings, Part 1 and 2 by Brandon Sanderson. I didn't actually know that they came in Part 1 and 2, so this was very fun for me because I bought Part 2 by accident first, and then I'm looking at the cover and thinking, I am dumb. So I had to buy the first one as well, but these were cheap. These were like $2 each. They're secondhand. They're very, very tattered. But I'm glad that I finally have these. I'm excited to read at least something by Brandon Sanderson. I don't know if I'm going to become a Brandon Sanderson acolyte because there are just so many books and they're so long, because this is one book, and but I am going to read this eventually, maybe the first part even this year, because I feel like fantasy very, very soon. And then we have 3 geisha books that are going to show up in a vlog very soon. We have Autobiography of a Geisha by Saya Masuda, Geisha of Gion by Minako Kawasaki, and Geisha by Lisa Dalby. I'm not going to talk to you a lot about these books right now because there's going to be a vlog very, very soon in the next couple of weeks on my channel where you'll find out why the hell I even have these. And now, the most exciting part. New books that my friend who lives in Germany wrote for me. I still owe her money for these. We're gonna open the box together. If I can find a knife, that is. God damn it, I'm an artist. Where are my craft knives? There were scissors here as well. Like, where the hell did they go? What's happening? Okay, I'm gonna use my sewing scissors. Don't tell my fabrics. Actually, I need to sharpen these. Oh God, just looking at these books makes my heart beat faster. I'm so excited about these. Oh God, it's beautiful. Okay. I Feed Her to the Beast and the Beast is Me by Jamison Shear. Jamison is amazing. We're friends on Instagram, and I'm so grateful that they just accepted my random friendliness and we became friends. I watched Jamison write this book on Instagram and post about writing this book and then post about publishing this book, and it's so exciting for me to see a really talented person who I also think is an awesome person to actually publish their book. Look at this cover, isn't it beautiful? This is about a black ballerina in a ballet school in Paris forging an alliance with an old god to achieve her goals and crush her enemies. And I think that's awesome. Just, oh my God, and it's a hardcover. I initially asked Jamison if I could order the book in their country so that the book could come to them, they would sign it for me, and then ship it here. I'd pay for shipping and everything. But I couldn't do that at the time, and then my friend was in Germany and she could pick it up for me. So now I have this. So now, eventually, I have to go to Finland to meet Jamison so that they can sign it for me. I'm so excited to read this. I'm literally gonna read this in November. I'm gonna read it this month. Then we have a book that I was freaking out about not possibly getting when it was first coming out. I didn't particularly like this cover when I first saw it, but when I see it now in my hands, I love it. Oh, it's a jellyfish. Okay, Rouge by Mona Awad. Look, it's a jellyfish and it's a rose like that, and there's a mirror thing on the back. Bunny by Mona Awad is one of my favorite books of all time. The 13 Ways of Looking at a Fat Girl as well. So this new book by Mona Awad, I was freaking out. I was so scared that I might not get it and not read it immediately, so I'm gonna read it immediately in November now as well. Then we have 2 books, one of which I read in October for Gottober, and the second one is the sequel to that book, and I think I'm going to buddy read them with Deborah soon. I literally don't even care that I just read this book. I'm ready to reread it. Radiance by Grace Draven and Eidolon by Grace Draven. Number 1, number 2. 5 stars, hopefully also 5 stars. I've never read a monster romance before, and this was so good. I'm in love. This was 5 stars. The world building was exquisite. The romance, the strangers to friends to lovers, was exquisite. I'm in love. Grace Draven, you are my queen. And then the last book that I was kind of also freaking out about not getting, but I knew that I would eventually, because his books show up in shops eventually. After, you know, at least a year after they've been published in my country, they do show up. And that is Holly by Stephen King, and it's a hardcover too. Holly Gibney is one of my favorite literary characters of all time, like from all the books that I have read. She first showed up in the Mr. Mercedes trilogy, then in The Outsider, and then she was in If It Bleeds, in the titular short story. And I wanted this novel that is solely about her so badly. I was freaking out when I found out that he's publishing this. I'm so glad that Stephen King loves Holly as much as I do, and that she became a fan favorite, so that he wrote this book. He also wanted to himself, I think. I think he said that he planned for Holly to be just a side character, but then he fell in love with her himself. So I think this book would have been written whether or not the fans really took to Holly, but I'm so glad that I have this. So I think this is my November TBR sorted. Okay, so this is the end of my book haul. Please let me know if you have read any of these books and what you think of them. If you want to read any of these books, and if you want to do a buddy read, because I would love that. Let me know anything and everything. Follow all my links and stuff and that, you know, like, subscribe, follow, all of that fun stuff to help my little channel. I will see you again very, very soon. Have a good day. I hope you're wonderful. Slava Ukraini!